Plants, fungi, and protists, the unsung heroes and forgotten organisms of biology. Many students may prefer to learn about cells, animals, and human organ systems. We like studying organisms close to ourselves, and we find meaning in subjects we can relate to. Yet, a deeper look at the world of green and blue that surrounds us can show us just how important they are to our daily lives and the ecosystems that we rely on. In this series of videos, we hope to delve into the world of plants, algae, and fungi to bring to life a whole other world of life. Welcome to week 1 of Plants and Fungi. This week we'll be focusing on two types of algae, cyanobacteria or blue-green algae and eukaryotic algae. First off, we need to distinguish between the organisms we call prokaryotes and those that we call eukaryotes. Prokaryotic organisms lack all membrane-bound organelles, including a nucleus. The DNA of a prokaryote forms a single circular strand in the nucleoid region of the cell. The domains archaea and bacteria are both prokaryotic. Two notable bacterial groups are the rhizobium or nitrogen-fixing bacteria and the cyanobacteria or the blue-green algae. Cyanobacteria are modern descendants of the ancient ancestor of the chloroplast. Like other bacteria, cyanobacteria have a peptidoglycan wall covered in a blue-green slime containing phycobilins. Under close examination, one can view the distinct nitrogen-fixing heterocysts and the desiccation-resistant actinate cells of Cyanobacteria colony. Cyanobacteria have no sexual phase and reproduce only by binary fission. Unlike prokaryotes, eukaryotic organisms contain a membrane-bound nucleus that houses the DNA in distinct linear chromosomes. All protists, including algae, fungi, and plants, are eukaryotic. The organisms that we call algae consist of a number of phyla within the kingdom Protista. One of the key features of algae are their unique modes of reproduction. We will explore these different life cycles using a few key phyla. The first type of life cycle we will talk about is one that you are probably familiar with, gametic meiosis. This is the life cycle found in animals and some algae. In gametic meiosis, a diploid individual will undergo meiosis or reductive division to produce haploid gametes. These gametes exist only in a unicellular state until they fuse in a fertilization event to form a diploid zygote. This zygote will divide using mitosis or non-reductive division to form the multicellular organism. Acetabularia, a group of green algae, divide using gametic meiosis. The macroscopic structure that you see is its sporophytic or diploid state. Cysts within its cap will release haploid gametes which immediately fuse to form a diploid zygote, which will then go on to grow into the diploid organism. The inverse of gametic meiosis is zygotic meiosis, a life cycle commonly found in some groups of fungi and algae. In zygotic meiosis, the only diploid stage of life is a single-celled zygote, which immediately divides by meiosis to create multiple haploid cells. Chara, a group of freshwater green algae, divide using zygotic meiosis. The last life cycle we will discuss is alternation of generations, which is used by all plants and many algae. Like its name suggests, alternation of generations involves the cyclic change between the gametophytic, or multicellular haploid generation, and the sporophytic, or multicellular diploid generation of an organism. The sporophyte divides via meiosis to create haploid spores, which can disperse widely. Each spore can divide by mitosis to create a multicellular but haploid gametophyte. The gametophyte can then divide using mitosis to create specialized haploid cells called gametes, which can fuse to form the diploid zygote that will ultimately become the new sporophyte. If the plant or algae alternates between identical-looking haploid and diploid generations, we call that alternation of isomorphic generations. An example of this would be the life cycle of the red algae Polysiphonia. However, if the organism alternates between distinct-looking haploid and diploid generations, like in the brown algae Laminaria, we would call this alternation of heteromorphic generations. Now, whether an algae uses any one of these three life cycles, there are also distinctions we can make within just the sexual phase of the life cycle, the union of the gametes. In isogamy, two identical-looking motile cells will join to form the gamete. An example of this would be in the green algae Spirogyra. In anisogamy, one large motile cell will fuse with a smaller motile cell, like in the sea lettuce ulva. In oogamy, one large non-motile cell, like an egg, unites with a smaller motile cell, like a sperm cell. The green algae Volvox uses oogamy. From ponds to oceans, in puddles and in streams, algae are around us every day. They are the root of many marine food chains and they produce the oxygen we need to survive. Our impact on our environment trickles down into the lives of algae and can be seen in massive ecological events like the red tides that poison our coasts. In this video, we explored the unique traits and life cycles of algae, the complex and ubiquitous relative of our terrestrial plants.